Hey guys, this is MugenLord here, and today is going to be a bit of a touchy topic. And I normally wouldn't want to cover stuff on this channel. I normally would save it for my Real Talk channel. But since this is surrounding my favorite video game series of all time, well, JRPG series of all time, which is Final Fantasy. So since the topic is surrounding this, I figured that, hey, why not? Because it's JRPG related for my channel. So if you guys are triggered by this topic or anything I have to say, about this, if you're new to the channel, then I advise you to click off this video. But I really want to get into this because it's really irritating. So before we dive into this topic, just make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and also hit that bell to be notified for more JRPG and fighting game news here on this channel. So what is the uproar? What is the topic surrounding Final Fantasy 16? Now, you guys know my opinion about the game in general. I just don't know how I feel about the game and need to see more gameplay elements to really convince me to say, hey, I'm going to grab Final Fantasy 16. But this topic and this issue right here has nothing to do with the gameplay itself. Now, as I said before, we live in a more sensitive society since, social media, and now that more voices are being heard all over the world, everybody want to voice their opinions on everything, and everything is being under attack as far as entertainment is concerned, from television shows, Hollywood movies, and even gaming itself, especially my favorite hobby, gaming. I just love gaming, and it seemed like a lot of social and political rhetoric, talk, discourse, and division has spread it into my favorite genre, and it just pretty much made the genre not as fun as it used to be, especially when you have a group of friends over the internet or in person who now take certain topics and issues and bring them over to your favorite pastime, and now you just don't want to talk about these things with certain people. So what is it I'm talking about? Well, it seemed like from there was an interview from the IGN producer who asked Yoshi P a particular question revolving race in Final Fantasy. Yes, we're discussing and talking about race in a Final Fantasy game, and I don't know how we have gotten to this point, but here we are. We're here. So Kotaku decided to pretty much give their input and their thought on the whole situation, and you already know how this is going to go. And as you can tell from the article, or the topic of the headline of the article, it says Final Fantasy 16 dev has a terrible answer for why the game is so white. So yes, Final Fantasy 16 has a white problem. Too many white people in Final Fantasy 16. And you already know how I feel about topics like this on my channel, but if you're new to this channel, I don't give a damn about how white Final Fantasy is or how white a game in particular. All I want to know is whether or not the game is going to be good, and if it's going to have good story development, character development, and everything else. I can care less of how diverse it is, because that has nothing to do with the overall experience with the game. But I digress. Let's dive into this article. So in the article it says, 2 weeks ago, Square Enix released a new story trailer for its upcoming RPG, Final Fantasy 16. There's just one noticeable problem. There doesn't seem to be a single non-white character in it. Now, this is the craziest, this is the most miserable role or to be in, where you look at every last video game and you're looking for someone that's not white in a video game. I never walk into a video game looking at how many people or non-white people who are in the game. I never once looked at that. All I want to know is what the story is going to be. Oh, this character design looks badass. I want to play as this character. Or what's the backstory to this character? Because this character looks interesting just by the design of the character and everything. But yet you have people like this, journalists, and you also got these people all over Twitter who every day live miserable lives, going to every form of media, art, entertainment, and just wanting to pick at, oh, there's lack of this, there's lack of that. I don't understand how people can live this way. But let us move forward. So the IGN journalist that asked producer Yoshi P about whether or not the game would feature any black people or other people of color. Unfortunately, his response made me go yikes in real life. So Yoshi P is going to pretty much give his response. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. When it comes to these gaming journalists, especially Polygon, Kotaku, IGN, these people aren't real journalists. They are activists. These are people who don't really care about gaming at all. These are people who want to be in politics but couldn't cut out to be in politics, so they seep their way into gaming journalism. And here it is. Yoshi P already knows that this is going to be a got you question. This is a gotcha question. And whether or not, no matter how this man is going to answer this, it's not going to be to their satisfactory. So let's continue. So Yoshida explained that the world of Final Fantasy, or the world of Valestia, was based on medieval Europe, and they wanted to limit the world culturally and geographically. Valestia was never going to be realistically be diverse as, say, a modern day Earth or even Final Fantasy 14, he said. So, as if he was being asked to incorporate every race on the entire planet. So he continues to respond to the journalist and says, ultimately, we felt that while incorporating ethnic diversity in Valestia was important, an over-incorporation into this single corner of a much larger world ended up causing a violation of those narrative boundaries we originally set for ourselves. So pretty much what Yoshi P is saying is that they're focusing on a certain part of this world of Final Fantasy 16, which is Valestia. So Valestia is more, I guess you say, medieval Europe, inspired. So they want to actually reflect that within its world by showing, that it's more European based. Now, if you guys don't know the history of Final Fantasy in general, the Final Fantasy series has always been inspired by European mythology, and just the whole aesthetics has always been European, and that's because of the creator. The creator used to do a lot of research with Greek mythology and everything of the European culture, so that's what Final Fantasy as a series has always reflected that, and that's that creator's choice. That's that series' choice. That's what they want to go with. Whether you like it or not, that's what they want to do. Which begs the question, why did they enforce a whites only boundary in the first place? Because they want to. That's what they want to do. So after acknowledging that the real world is more diverse than Valestia, he continued, the story we are telling is Final Fantasy, yes, but it's also rooted in reality. And then the article from Kotaku says, which is it, Yoshida? You can't say that your world is fictional world isn't bound to reality, and then you use reality to explain why black people can't exist in Valestia. Pick a struggle and stick with it, please. And this is the problem. Yoshida already knew going in that this wasn't going to satisfy anybody. No matter what he says in a situation like this, somebody's going to get offended by this. And as he said, Final Fantasy 14, think about Final Fantasy 14. That game is so diverse, and he's pretty much saying that we only sticking to this part of the globe. This is the story they wanted to tell. They wanted to go with a medieval tale, so they wanted to go with an all European type of aesthetic with it. Yes, it's fantasy. Fantasy, you can bend the rules or whatever, but this is the story they wanted to tell. That's it. And I'm a person of color. This doesn't offend me at all. I don't see the big deal with this. But let's go. So what's really frustrating about all this is that black and brown people have always existed in medieval Europe. If the creative leader had done more research or checked their biases, then they might have noticed that black people have been living in Britain for 2,000 years, or that some black Europeans were canonized in the Holy Roman Empire, or realized that Iberia was under Islamic rule for approximately 500 years. Instead of a realistic imagining of medieval Europe, we got Final Fantasy 16 instead. So what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. They don't owe any of you guys anything. They don't. And the thing that really bothers me is that this person that's writing this article, I don't need you to speak for me. I don't need you to defend me or fight on my behalf or be offended for me. I don't need that from you. And this is what I hate most about journalists, and that's what I hate most about this social political environment right now. When it comes to a certain demographic of people who feel as though that they need to fight on our behalf, because I don't know, whatever guilt that they might have, or whatever privilege that they think they may have, they feel as though that they have to be the hero to pretty much free us, or to make us feel like we're relevant, or to make us feel like, hey, they're on our side or whatever. I don't need any of that. I really don't. And to me, it's cringy as hell. It's unwanted. And to me, it feels as though that you're not really doing it for for people that you claim that you're doing it for. You're more so doing it for yourself to get social points and to grandstand and virtue signal for the rest of the world to make yourself feel like you're a better person or a person with better morality than the person that you're speaking against. That's what it feels like to me. I hate being patronized, and I also hate being put on this pedestal and fetishized as a person of color. I hate that. I just rather be treated as an individual and treated as a person. I don't need anybody to put me in this special corner or to treat me special for whatever reason or whatever agenda or motive they may possibly have. I can't stand that. But let's continue. So this person continues in the article and says, I emailed Square Enix to ask how it decided on whether or not a story element violated developers' narrative boundaries, and I'll let you know once I got a response. You're not going to get a response. I'm telling you that now. You're never going to get a response from that. No matter what Yoshi P says, somebody's going to get offended. And there's no satisfying these type of people. You give these people an inch, they're going to want a mile. And then the moment you turn around and then you give them that, they also say that, hey, it's not a good enough. If you put black characters in something, then you have people complaining, well, this black character didn't get enough screen time, or this black character was portrayed wrong, and I don't like the way they were portrayed in this. There's always somebody that's going to be upset about something. Somebody's going to get offended. But when it comes to Final Fantasy, I come to Final Fantasy to get lost into whatever world that the producers and the artists have to present to us gamers. That's all I care about. I never walked into a Final Fantasy game peeking around, wonder if I'll see somebody who represents me and looks like me. I never do that. I'm a gamer first before anything. I want to play the game. And you look at every other Final Fantasy 7, when Barrett is first introduced, the first thing when I saw Barrett, I didn't see that, oh man, God, there's a black guy in this. No. The first thing I noticed about Barrett, this motherfucker got a gun arm. Like, what is that about? This guy has a gun arm. I need to know the backstory of how he got this gun arm. That's the thing that I really cared about when I first saw Barrett. It wasn't his skin color. I can care less about his skin color. But what interested me the most is how that man got that gun attached to his damn arm. That's what I was intrigued by. I wasn't intrigued by it because I see someone who share the same skin color as me. That is so shallow. It just irritates me. So then you go on Twitter. You got so many people on Twitter, which it calls a debate. I voiced my opinion on it, and then you have many other people. And what I really find really like stupid, especially with Twitter. Twitter is the most toxic place on the internet. It really caused a lot of division, and what adds more to the division is journalists like this, because no one was thinking about the color and how many people of color that's going to be in Final Fantasy 16. When Final Fantasy 16 was announced, you see everybody all over Twitter celebrating that, hey, we're finally getting a new Final Fantasy game, a new mainline Final Fantasy game. We can't wait. Everybody been making tweets. Hey, when's the next trailer is going to reveal? What other summons are going to be shown? What the gameplay is going to be like? Everybody was talking about everything but color. But then you have these stupid journalists, which I can't stand, that will come in here and raise this question, and now everybody, the same people who was super excited for Final Fantasy 16, are now simply throwing Yoshi P under the bus because of his response, that they feel as though that he didn't respond to it the way that they felt he should have responded to it. And now everybody is either calling him a racist, he's a bigot, or he has this racial bias. Now everybody's saying all this stuff about Yoshi P, but no one was saying about this before until this question was raised. No one was saying this. No one was saying anything or asking anything about people of color being in this game. And that's what cracks me up about all this. It's like everybody's just NPCs. Everybody seems to can't think for themselves until somebody else say, hey, you should be upset by this, and then everybody gets upset about this. No one was saying this about this before. These are the same people that's going to go sit in line and pick this game up and play this game day one without even noticing that there's no people of color in this game. Now all of a sudden everybody's attacking this man. And what I like what some people are saying on the other side of the spectrum is saying how stupid this is. It really is. First, everybody praised Yoshi P for Final Fantasy 14, which you can see, Everybody loved this man. Everybody keep talking about how Yoshi P is the best, how he saved Square Enix, and how this man had pretty much revived Final Fantasy through Final Fantasy 14. He's been trending on Twitter, especially when Endwalker it came out, and everybody talking about how awesome he is. And then the moment he give an answer like this, when it regarding race, and all of a sudden this guy is the most evil man in the world. It's really, really stupid, and I can't stand this. I'm tired of this. And as I always said before, and you guys know me when it comes to topics like this, when it comes to social political issues like this, when a company does something that I don't like, one, I either don't support it, or two, I create an alternative for me and those who want to engage in the alternative to get what they want out of it. I notice there's a lot of people who beg on their knees to a corporation and expect the corporation to do fair or do right by them. A corporation. These are corporations. The corporations don't care about you. And if you don't like what a corporation is dishing out, then go create your own. Create your own parallel economy. Create your own parallel industry. Do all that. And for those of you who've been following me for a long time, you guys already know that I'm a person that don't just bitch and complain about stuff. I actually walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. You guys already know my opinion about what they've been doing to my favorite form of media, gaming, and movies and entertainment and comics. This whole social political atmosphere that we have going on, where everything has just been flipped upside down, taking some of our legendary favorite franchises and race swapping, gender swapping, throwing political messages, and just ruining our favorite characters. I got tired of it, and you guys been following me on my streams and everything. And since I got tired of it, I decided to do my own thing. I decided to create my own media. I started my own LLC, got my own comic book, and start creating my own comics and manga and tell my own stories. And for people who are tired of these type of things that's going on, can, if they want, engage in the type of media that I'm creating right now. Anytime I don't like something, I go off and create my own. And that's what people need to do. If there's not enough black people or people of color in movies, comics, video games, or whatever, create your own if you have a problem with it, or support a company, or support artists and developers who are creating these things that you're yearning for. But don't expect certain companies to bend the knee or and bend to your demands because you want a particular thing. If they're not going to give it to you, you create your own thing. I know some people say, well, it's easier said than done. Some people don't have the means. It's no excuse. I'm just a regular guy who sits in my room, work, and talk about video games, and do all kinds of other creative things. And I found ways to be able to create my own parallel industry, you know? So you got to step up and take action if there's something that you don't like what the industry is giving to you. Or if you don't like the answer, you look for the alternative, or you create that alternative. That's the wonders of the internet. That's the wonders of technology. You no longer have to rely on media. You no longer have to rely on corporations. You can get up off your ass and create your own thing. And that's what I'm about. If I don't like something, I create my own thing. And you need to do the same thing too. But that's pretty much it. I know I rambled enough, but I think this is just annoying. You can just hear the frustration coming off of me, is that they're attacking Yoshi P because they feel as though that there isn't people of color in Final Fantasy 16. And just a couple of weeks ago, these were the same journalists that was praising Yoshi P for this game in Final Fantasy 14. But now all of a sudden that he didn't give the answer that they feel as though they should give. Now all of a sudden this discuss that Yoshi P is this villain all of a sudden. Man, they can go ahead with that. They can go ahead with that. And that's why I can't wait. I can't wait to the pendulum swing center again, or all this stuff goes away, because this is just uncalled for. This is what made gaming not fun anymore. Because I have a lot of friends, or I have a portion of friends who are just like these journalists, where I can't get into a conversation about video games anymore without them bringing up social political things. They drain and zap the fun out of things, you know? And so now when I get around certain groups of people, I avoid certain conversations because we're always going to disagree. And it just made gaming not fun anymore. But that pretty much wraps up this topic. What do you think about Yoshi P's example, or why he chose to just make this more European based more than anything before? Like, definitely let me know. Do you think that it was a poor excuse? Do you think we need people of color in Final Fantasy 16, or does it really matter to you at all? I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment sections below. And if you're getting Final Fantasy 16, also let me know. So, want to hear your thoughts. Let's get a discussion going on. And remember, be respectful. You guys are allowed to disagree, and you're allowed to disagree with me. And that's what I love most about the community that I crafted here, is that you guys are allowed to disagree with me. You don't have to agree with me. And the thing is, when y'all disagree with me, you'll always disagree with me in the most respectful way as possible. And I always do the same thing in return. As long as we're respectful of each other, we always are able to have a discussion. And I think that's what it's supposed to be. But this brings more division than anything, because these journalists are the real villains. Now everybody is arguing back and forth over race in a Final Fantasy game. So this is MugenLord, sign off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.